This is Ken Pyle with ViodiTV at the American Cable Association's 20th Summit. We're with Tom Seale. Tom, you were the first treasurer. You were among the founders of ACA. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what motivated you and your cohorts 20 years ago to start this?
Well, I tell you, back then, there was a lot of difference between the larger cable companies and the smaller cable companies in the more rural areas. And it was when we were evolving from an analog world to a digital world, and we had the digital divide, which kind of separated the rural cable systems from the big guys, and we were not able to provide as much as quickly as the larger city systems were, because we didn't have the densities of population. And the American Cable Association came along at a time that was perfect, because it helped to represent those smaller, more rural operators in Washington, and to help educate our legislators about the differences between cable companies, large and small.
And especially back then, there were a lot of independent operators, all mom and pop type things, a lot of owners. It must have been a real challenge to kind of organize that group.
It was really a challenge. One of our biggest issues was membership, and we had a hard time getting kind of started with ACA because a lot of people were struggling just to survive. Mm-hmm. And so to try to get people to commit to yet another expenditure in that time period was tough. But I think when people began to realize the benefits that the ACA provided to them, the membership came pretty good after that. We grew.
And kind of put it in context of the years back then. It was '92. The Regulation Act had just passed, right?
Correct. And so you're still dealing today with a lot of the same issues that we dealt with back then. It was the introduction of retransmission consent. I think they're still dealing with that today. But we had a lot of those issues because of the Cable Act.
And clearly, you're in a unique situation in the sense that you've got smaller operations than the big guys, and those rules that were put in place were really before you had a chance. And I say you as the ACA had a chance to do anything about it, right?
Correct. I think that's the benefit of the ACA. I think we helped to educate the legislators who were helping to make those rules at the time. I think our group really came up with talking points where we would go to the Hill and we would go one-on-one with the congressmen and the senators, and we'd try to teach those guys the difference between the large operators and the smaller, more rural operators.
And so, looking at this event today and the organization, where it's come from, what makes you most proud?
I tell you what, when I looked at the list of folks that are still here, there were several of the folks from 12 years ago when I was involved that are still involved, but there's so many new folks, new faces, and new companies. And I think we've seen an evolution where it's not just cable today, it's cable and it's internet and it's telephony and it's everything bundled together. And even a lot of the smaller operators are taking part in that evolution.
And just a last question, banking, telecom, which has easier regulations, regulatory environment?
Well, I used to be in the banking business like 28 years ago, and I just got back in this last year. Okay. And I think it's a whole lot more regulated than it used to be. I mean, they've taken a lot of the fun out of banking, but we're a small bank in Tyler, Texas, and we're trying to be like the banks were 30 years ago. So it's fun, it's refreshing, and it's a good opportunity for us.
Just like the small cable operators are fun with their customers.
Exactly.
Well, Tom, I really appreciate your time.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thank you.